everyone. How are you? It's great to be in Washington, D.C. among so many service lovers. It's wonderful. Love seeing our Senior Corps members out there, RSVP, foster grandparents, senior companions. I know we've got some Americorps members, Americorps Vista, Americorps NCCC. I've seen some alums out there too, right? Yeah. Volunteer centers, hands-on network affiliates, you're out there. Social Innovation Fund, our faith and community-based partners. It's so great to see it. And we have a few of the Corporation for National Community Service team members out there too. So big applause for them. That's right. Michelle Nunn, I think, is still with us in the corner over here. Michelle is always puts on an outstanding conference. She leads with passion. We are indebted to Michelle Nunn for her leadership, her passion, and her commitment to bringing service and citizen participation across the country. Thank you, Michelle. We have a fabulous board of directors. These board members are nominated by the President of the United States. They are confirmed by the Senate in a unanimous fashion, I may add. And when the Senate can confirm anything unanimously, we celebrate that. But I know I've got my sisters in service are here with me today. Laisha Ward, our board chair, Phyllis Siegel, and also my brother in service, Eric Tannenblatt. Thank our board, if you will. It's great. Friends, we have much to celebrate. We've got a 20-year track record. Coming up on 20 years, on September 21st, the legislation was signed into law to create the Corporation for National and Community Service and create what we now know is a successful national service program throughout the country. Soon we'll hit 50 years of VISTA and 50 years of foster grandparents. So that'll be something we'll be celebrating as well. We have great support from President Obama and the White House. A very special guest in the House with us today, representing the White House. So I'll give you a little teaser on that, and I'll introduce him shortly. We have super bipartisan support from governors, from past presidents, from mayors across the country, from local leaders of all persuasions. It's just great to celebrate. And I don't know about you, but yesterday's platform of bipartisanship and spirit was fantastic and refreshing, wasn't it? I mean, anytime we can get two members of the polar opposite political parties and persuasions agreeing on our cause, service, that's a good day for Americas. There's other things to celebrate. A few of you were here at the policy session that John Bridgeland and Alan Casey led a few minutes ago and revealed new research that shows 4 out of 5 Americans support voluntary national service and military service, even tying it to having a living stipend and a college scholarship. This is just out today. I'm very excited about this new research. I think it's going to help us take our message all over the country to leaders who are interested in how people feel about national service. We've known it, but we're interested in what others who are not necessarily in our daily lives feel about national service. So I'm really thrilled to have that support. Did I mention the volunteer rate is at some of its highest levels ever, including seniors volunteering at a high level. Our seniors, yeah, you're rocking. That's right. It's great. And I love this statistic, and this is often not told. While we have about 80,000 Americorps members serving each year, and we're coming up on a little over 800,000 alums, which is something to celebrate, the 80,000 Americorps members, part of their role, part of your role, Americorps members, is to recruit volunteers to serve alongside you. And that story doesn't get told. 2 years ago, you recruited 3.5 million volunteers to serve alongside you and introduced these volunteers to the cause that you were working on. And the idea is that when you step out and graduate and move on, that these volunteers stay behind. That number this past year went up. Keep in mind, the number of Americorps members stayed about the same, but the number of volunteers recruited by Americorps members went up 500,000 Americans, from 3.5 to 4 million Americans. That's something to celebrate. More of them coming together with us. The demand for national service is as strong as it's ever been. Today, I am proud to announce that we are awarding $200 million in Americorps grants to 270 fabulous organizations. Congratulations to those of you who have won these awards. Very competitive. We had $341 million in applications through the competitive process. So you can tell if you won one of these awards, you are running a great program. Other programs that did not win an award are also running great programs. But we're working within the constraints of what we have to work with in these tough fiscal times. And we're proud to be able to focus on those $200 million. But also the state commissions were awarded $110 million to distribute and invest locally in the states across the country. So cheers to the state commissions as well. Absolutely. I hope many of you participated on April 9th, which is Senator Harris Wofford's birthday, I may add. Where's Senator Wofford? Yes, thank you so much, Senator Wofford. My first day on the job, also April 9th, a year ago, so we celebrate that together every year. But anyway, on April 9th, we had the first ever Mayor's Day of Recognition for National Service. 832 mayors across the country issued proclamations, had press conferences, held events, had award ceremonies to celebrate Americorps, Senior Corps programs. This was a fantastic day. Mayor Michael Nutter from Philadelphia, this was his idea that he brought to us. He championed it through the U.S. Conference of Mayors. The National League of Cities also was our champion on this. We're looking for many more years of this, and thank you so much for those of you who participated in the Mayor's Day. I talked to Mayor Nutter last week, and he said, Wendy, we're going to exceed 1,000 next year. I said, I'm with you, Mayor Nutter, I'm with you, and he may even announce it very soon. He's on his way to the U.S. Conference of Mayors annual conference, and he's promised to talk about national service and the great work that you're doing. Those mayors represented 100 million Americans. That's 1/3 of our population. So that was a great amplification for the work that you're doing around the country, and I'm just thrilled that we were able to participate with that. With all of that, I want to just stop a minute, and I want to just thank each one of you. Each one of you have committed your time, your energy, much of your time that you could be giving to families, your careers, to national service and volunteerism. And I don't think we can go through this conference enough without saying thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your leadership. Whether you're managing a program, administering a program, or you're serving as an Americorps member, or you're an alum who is continuing to serve in your communities, I thank you for your service. Give yourselves a round of applause. Congratulations on all your work. Thank you. If you have been following me on Twitter, you will know that we have just released some fabulous new research. Or if you've read the Washington Post or heard any of happened to be listening to any one of the radio stations that I spoke to yesterday, which were dozens, and I think I tallied up about 2 million Americans I spoke to by radio yesterday to share some fantastic new research. This research, done over pulling data from 10 years, 70,000 people in the survey sample. That's significant, folks. If you're in the research world, you know this. Answers the question that we've been asking ourselves. Does volunteering actually help you get a job? And I'm thrilled to announce that the answer is a resounding yes. We have known that for years. Anecdotally, all of us who work in the volunteer sector know people who have secured a job, either directly or indirectly from their volunteer work. But we never had any substantial research to prove it. Now we do. The statistic, if you volunteer and you're looking for work, you're 27% more likely to secure a job than if you did not volunteer. That is significant, folks. 27%. What's interesting about this research is volunteering increases your likelihood of finding research, no matter what your gender is, your age, your race, or your geographic area. It increases the likelihood on all conditions. But there are two groups that I want to point out that I think are important to you. How many of you represent or are from a rural community, what you would define as a rural community? Quite a bit of you. I would guess about a third in the audience from a rural community. If you live in a rural community, our data tells us that if you volunteer and you're looking for work, you increase your likeliness of finding a job by 55%. So those of you from rural areas, what are we going to be doing now? Talking to those who are unemployed, introducing them to your programs, bringing them into your nonprofits and others, asking them to serve in Americorps or Senior Corps programs to help them get a job if that's their desire and their need. Another group that's important are those people who do not have a high school degree. Their likelihood of getting a job if they volunteer and don't have a high school degree is 51%. So you see the conclusion there is that if you're in a rural community or you don't have a high school degree, this is sort of like what levels the playing field. This gives you that added advantage as you get out and you're networking and you're building your networks and you are gaining new skills and experiences. This will give you an advantage. So I think that is very significant for those two groups, but bottom line is 27% increase is really, really significant. I think we'll put up a picture from Maria next. Let's see if we do. Okay, this is Maria. She's from my home state of Florida, Lakeland, Florida. Anyone here from Lakeland? Janet's here? Yeah, good to see you all. So let me tell you quickly about Maria and see if you can identify with this. A couple of years ago, Maria was looking for a job. She first went to the trouble and time and effort to get credentialed as a certified nursing assistant. So she took her shiny new certified nursing assistant document and her resume with her and started going around the area looking for a job in medical professional offices and hospitals and other locations. And everywhere she went, everyone said, "Your certificate is helpful, but I'm sorry you don't have any experience. I'm sorry, Maria, thank you for your interest, but you need to get some experience before I can employ you." So Maria took that advice from those who were turning her down. She said, "Well, I'm going to go get some experience. I'm going to volunteer." She started volunteering at the Polk County, that's the county in Lakeland, the Polk County Adult Daycare Center. A couple of months later, they hired her. Now that's the success story that we're looking for. That's what we need to do to give hope to people who are unemployed. We can do that with our wonderful, beautiful tool of service and volunteerism and how we manage. I'm going to encourage you to look for people who are unemployed. Bring them into your organizations. Treat them almost like an intern. You know, interns we treat a little differently. We invest in their professional development, while in exchange for their time and talents. So if we do this, we will help those people who are unemployed. So I really want you to take on that as a challenge. I am very pleased today to have a special guest join me now from the White House. His name is Alan Krueger. He is the chairman of the White House Council of Economic Advisors and a member of the cabinet. And I want to tell you about Mr. Krueger. He's going to give a reaction and tell us from the president why your work is important and a reaction to this research that he has had a passion about for many years. But I'm going to call him the hippest economic advisor chairman we'd had. And here's why. Here's why he's really hip. Last week he was in Cleveland and he was speaking to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Economics and Rebuilding the Middle Class. And he came up with this phrase, rockonomics. So anybody that can link the economy to rock and roll, we love and we embrace. Chairman Krueger, please come join me. Great, thank you so much. Thanks. Oh, better go this way.
Thanks very much, Wendy. I'm glad you didn't ask me to dance or sing. And thank you very much for the outstanding work that you do at the Center for National and Community Service. I'm sure all of you saw the President's State of the Union address, where he said his North Star is to make America a magnet for jobs. We have too many people who are unemployed. Currently, just under 12 million workers are unemployed. They've been searching for a job and can't find one. That's down from a peak of 15.3 million, but it's still too high. Also, of the 11.8 million who are unemployed, 4.3 million have been searching for a job for over half a year. A concern that we have for the economy is that we're not using these resources in people's personal lives. Being unable to find a job is a traumatic experience. And our top priority must be to help the unemployed find work. That's why this research is so important, and that's why the work that all of you are doing is so important. I asked my staff to review this paper before I agreed to come speak today. I'm pleased to tell you it passed muster. It also fits with other evidence that we have that volunteering is a way to help the unemployed re-engage in society. It's a way to help them get skills to find a job. It's a way to help them make connections, to feel better about themselves, and to help their community. And I think that's all borne out by this research. I had done a study of unemployed workers in New Jersey where I found that the unemployed who searched for a job, the unemployed who volunteered also spent more time searching for a job, also spent more time in training, and were more likely to find work. So that dovetails nicely with these findings. One of the problems that the unemployed face is without a job, they become more and more isolated, and that makes it harder to find a job. And also, in too many cases, employers discriminate against the long-term unemployed. So I think it's particularly important to look for ways to engage the long-term unemployed while they're looking for a job. Now, that describes a lot of the work that many of you do. And in fact, I think one of our greatest problems is we don't have enough of you. Volunteer organizations and the volunteers that help them are the cornerstone of our nation. I hope when you go back to your homes, you'll bring this research with you and use it to reinvigorate the idea of trying to help the unemployed to volunteer, which will help them to find work. I would also encourage you to try to connect with state and local government workforce agencies. Last year, the Department of Labor issued a ruling that volunteering is a fine thing to do when people are on unemployment insurance benefits, as long as they continue to search for a job. And this was meant to help encourage the unemployed to volunteer. So let me just conclude by thanking all of you for your service, to encourage you to particularly help the long-term unemployed who are having the most difficulty finding work in our country through no fault of their own because of the severe economic crisis that we went through, to find volunteering positions. I think that will help to benefit the unemployed themselves. It will help the organization that they're volunteering for. It will help their community, and ultimately it will help our nation. One of the thoughts I've been having in my job as I look at the economic forces that have been affecting our country over the last 3 decades, as we've seen the top grow in terms of income, the middle stagnate, and the bottom slip further behind. One of the forces that has been causing this polarization in our society is globalization. And the only force that's more powerful than globalization is the power of community, the synergies that happen within communities, and the bedrock of that is our volunteer organization. So I just want to commend all of you for your service and encourage you to keep at it. We certainly need the help. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Chairman. It's great to have a champion, and I think this is a pivotal moment for our service sector. we can now validate the fact that we are an economic engine, especially for those who need it most. And I'm so pleased that you recognize this. I appreciate your passion in the past and in the future in your new life. Congratulations to the service that you've done for President Obama, and I wish you the best. Chairman Cougar is moving on to his next wonderful life in August, and we appreciate your service, and best of luck to you. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. It's really great, folks. This is really an exciting time, and I'm just so thrilled that finally we're taking this economic case in a much more evidence-based way. This is just a wonderful time. I have now a delightful honor of introducing to you a wonderful, wonderful champion of national service and volunteerism and commitment to civic engagement in a dynamic senator. His name is Senator Chris Coons. He is from the great state of Delaware. Let me tell you why he's such a strong supporter of national service. He may be the only member of Congress that actually co-founded one of our very first Americorps programs. He literally started a program in the early 90s when it was really tough to start a program. It's tough now, but it was really tough then. And he started a program then. He's put his name on the line in support of national service since he's been in office. I had the pleasure of announcing with him a wonderful national initiative with our National Guard Bureau called Joining Community Forces, where we are investing vistas across the country with our National Guard Bureau to support veterans and military families. And he proudly stood with me in the great state of Delaware to announce this nationwide initiative. He's from the first state. He's from the small wonder state. He's from the diamond state. I want you to help me welcome Senator Chris Coons. So glad you're here.
The heart is a blue.
Thank you, folks, and thank you so much for a chance to be with you again. I was visiting back with somebody who I got to know literally as a grantee, and I'm thrilled to see Senator Harris Wofford here with us again. Can you give Senator Wofford a round of applause? Service is an incredibly powerful force for our nation, for our communities, for us individually. And it is, in my view, the most powerful force we've got in a country that badly needs what you're doing. Whether it's Senator Wofford, who was one of the real leaders in the movement for volunteerism and service for his entire adult life, or it's folks in this room who've come together from across the country for whom this might be your very first conference. This might be your first year serving as a commissioner or as a grantee. I just wanted to briefly encourage you with the message that what you've got is what America needs. Service is bipartisan. In a town that is riven by partisanship, where we're having difficulty passing a resolution saying that today's Monday when it's Monday and that it's Friday when it's Friday, something that brings together Republicans and Democrats, North and South, black and white, gay and straight, folks who are from the religious community and folks who are not rooted in faith in their activity, folks of all possible backgrounds, have come together in service, because it is at the core of what it means to be an American, is a willingness to step up and take action and fix things in our communities with some facilitating help or support from government, whether it's federal or state or local, but the drive, the energy, the persistence, and the impact is by individuals in service to their community. As Wendy mentioned in her brief introduction, I first got involved through something called the I Have a Dream Foundation. I was working for a guy named Gene Lang in Manhattan, and I actually, through an acquaintance, Clara Shin, got asked to be a grant reviewer for the summer of service at the end of the Bush administration, something that predated the creation of CNCS. And spending a whole week locked in a hotel room reading stacks and stacks of papers somehow made me think this was a good thing to get involved in. But I was working for this terrific nonprofit that helped kids in tough neighborhoods all over America, many of them in housing projects, but all of them in some of the worst and most challenged schools in the whole country. And we were really struggling as a nonprofit to engage and motivate and sustain the volunteers we needed for our kids. And I came back from that experience and said to Jean Lang, this is the program, this is the model, this is the partnership that can allow 15 of our locals around the country to really grow, to invest in staff development, to multiply, to reach out and to bring in a whole new generation of folks who will be mentors and tutors and will help build community around these important centers of these I Have a Dream chapters. And he thought I was crazy. So I locked myself in another small windowless room with a half dozen friends, and we did nothing for a week except write a grant application. I think we filed it less than a minute before the deadline. I was 24 years old. I'd never written $1 million federal grant in my life and really had no idea exactly what I was doing. Thankfully, neither did the corporation at the time because it was brand new. You've heard this used many, many times before, but it really was flying a plane that we were building while we were flying it. And the great thing was then for me the chance to do the national trainings and to go to all the sites and to wrestle through what all this compliance and paperwork meant, but to be inspired and challenged by our teams across the country. You know, for my father, service in the United States Army as a sergeant was his first experience of really being an American, of being responsible for and serving with a group of, at that point, all men, who were from all different backgrounds and races, education levels, and geographies. It was his first experience of feeling what it meant to be engaged in national service. And I'll never forget a young woman who was part of our Corps out west in Portland, Oregon. We were in Estes Park in Colorado doing our Corps training before they went out to do it. And she said, you know, this is the most patriotic I've ever felt in my life, and I don't even have a gun. I was stunned at the range and reach of our Americorps members, and I mean no disrespect to the whole reach of the service family to wear my Americorps pin, but that was the one that I came through. And in that service, I got to see just how powerful the experience was for our members, young and old. We had some who had PhDs, we had some who had GEDs. We had some who were moms in public housing who were using their year of service to inspire their own kids and to stabilize and improve their own lives. We had others who were searching for themselves after years of wandering through academia and lives of privilege. It was a remarkable twinning of folks from very diverse backgrounds in a common cause, which was helping improve schools and kids in America's neighborhoods. But I also saw some of the real challenges that Americorps faced at the time in its earliest years, and I weighed in and was happy to be enlisted to be one of the folks who came to Washington and stood up and argued in behalf of this young and positive program. I'll never forget Eli Siegel, someone who touched me personally and who was a great model of what you can do to be a positive contributor out of your own success in life to the success of others. Well, not long thereafter, I actually was appointed to the commission. I was a commissioner in Delaware. And one of the things I say every time I get a chance to be engaged in a national service event is don't overlook how positive and experienced service can be, whether as a grantee, a member, or a commissioner, because it was through that commission that I met my wife. So the single greatest gift in my life has come through Americorps and through my service with the commission in Delaware. We had a lot of, oh, thank you. She is. It was awkward initially figuring out how I would ever actually ask her out. 3 different times I came home to Delaware from New York and dropped by her office for a conversation about service over a cup of coffee. Before, as ever, being the person to drive us towards a decision, she looked at me and said, Buster, you ever going to actually ask me out here? Needing that permission. Service unites. Bringing us together in appropriate and positive ways. But you know, it was a wonderful opportunity for me to meet someone whose heart was committed to service and to change. Although from a different place and a different background, from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, although I'm from Wilmington, Delaware. And it was the beginning of a wonderful and positive life together. Those who served on the commission with us at that time really made a difference in our lives, and we hope we gave back effectively as a couple to them. I've seen Americorps and I've seen the corporation grow and change and mature. And one of the things that I found most fulfilling was in my next role as an elected county executive to go all up and down my state and to listen to the community of folks who serve and volunteer, and to realize that our oldest and most established network of volunteers in my state, our volunteer firefighters, had a classic problem: a failure to recruit new members. They had great firehouses, they had great fire equipment, they had great standards and traditions and history, but their numbers were steadily declining, in part because of a culture that was rooted in a time when more people came in than you knew what to do with, and so you could haze them, winnow them, push them back, and then you would get just the best. In today's world, we ask more volunteer firefighters than we ever have in terms of training and standards, and the demands on young families are different. And frankly, the distractions available to young men and women are quite different than they were when the fire companies were established. And so, working in partnership with the YMCA and with the Commission in Delaware, we created a program to help multiply the number of folks recruited into volunteerism through our fire service, which is a great way to root young men and women of all backgrounds into a lifetime of service. That gave me an opportunity to see Americorps all over again from a different perspective. And I'll close with this. What I think is exciting for you about today is to be part of the next wave of national service. This is at the root of what it means to be American. Whether it was in the Civilian Conservation Corps or in VISTA, whether it was in Peace Corps or in the reinvention of Americorps, whether it's the new partnerships that Wendy has done, I think, a remarkable job of crafting with federal agencies, whether it's FEMA or it's STEM or it's the National Guard partnership that we talked about when she came to Delaware, leveraging the reach and scope of the national government and the power of volunteerism and communities together is exciting to me and is something that I look forward to fighting for in my role here in Washington. I am someone who commutes from my home state every day. There's not a lot of senators who can do that. But in my view, it helps keep me grounded in the community that I'm from, the folks who hired me and sent me here. And one of the most common values in Delaware, as it is across the country, is the value we place on local leadership, on local initiative, and on local volunteerism to help heal the gaps in our country that need tending to, and to help lay the groundwork for a stronger and more blessed community going forward. I am so grateful for you, for what you do each and every day. Don't hesitate to invite your federal electeds. Bring in your congressman and your senator. Bring in your lieutenant governor and governor. Give them a paintbrush and a t-shirt and a day not to give a brief speech and then run off, but give them a day to experience what you're doing. Honestly, it's a gift. We need encouragement. We need to see the difference that volunteerism and service makes, and my colleagues need to be reminded of the leveraging, compounding value of what you're doing in our home states and home communities day in and day out. On the days I've been able to, as county executive or a senator, speak to Americorps members, speak to senior volunteers, speak to VISTA volunteers, when I've been able to do service projects, when I've been able to visit and see its actual impact in the classroom or in the community, it's been the best days I've had in public service and public life. So don't be shy about reaching out and asking us in. It's how I can help best leverage for you, your leadership at home through real connectivity here in the Congress. You've got a clear vision. You've got an important mission, and you've got what America needs. Thank you, God bless you, and enjoy a great conference today.
Is a blue shoots up through the stony ground. There's no room, no space to rent in this town.
I've got a deal to cut with the good senator. Wow, our country's in good hands when we have a man like this serving for us. It's just absolutely fantastic. Now, here's the deal I've got to have with you, Senator. We know now that you were united with Annie because of Americorps and the State Commission, which is fabulous. Now, on the remote, slight occasion that you all may have a difference of agreement, maybe even so far as an argument, please do not remember that you were joined with Americorps in your Senate duties, if you know what I mean. That pledge. Thank you so much. You're a great champion for us. We're fortunate to have you in our camp. We need more of you. You've great advice today, and your spirit is contagious. Love you. Thank you. Thanks. Really need that. Great. Wow. Wonderful, wonderful. You see what Americorps can do? It can turn out great leaders. It's just fantastic. It really is. So we have a lot to celebrate about, and he alluded to something I want to just mention briefly to you about the creativity that we feel that's needed in all of our work. The resources are precious. The data and outcomes and impact are absolutely critical to prove the value of the work that you're doing. And we need an even sharper focus on some of the most pressing needs and issues of the day. So we've got to think creatively. So we've been doing a little bit of that at the Corporation for National and Community Service. And one of them is in Fema Corps. Many of you have heard about Fema Corps, but Fema Corps takes the power of Americorps NCCC, unites it with FEMA in engaging 18 to 24-year-olds in disaster work, frontline, on the field with great training, and it gives a pathway for these young people right into emergency management or some kind of organizational skills set that they will develop to improve their likelihood of getting a job and raising a family or being an individual self-supporting. But what's most important that I've seen about Fema Corps across the country since we started it, we have now about 800 Fema Corps members serving across the country, and unfortunately I've had to see them doing some tough work in Oklahoma, in Hurricane Sandy, in the coast. They have been put to work immediately, which we didn't quite expect, but thank goodness they were there for us. But that partnership with FEMA is something that we did. We're really thinking outside the box in uniting service into one of our greatest needs across the country. School Turnaround Americorps, another partnership with the Department of Education that will use Americorps members to support schools most in need and help address one of our nation's most critical issues, and that's the dropout crisis. STEM Americorps. This is a program where Americorps members can recruit and engage citizen professionals, citizen volunteers from the science, technology, engineering, and math professions and recruit them into schools or some kind of academic or learning session or after school camps or summer camps where you're uniting these professionals. So they're getting our young people excited about STEM. We need them excited about STEM, and we know that when they get excited about STEM, their interest is raised in every level of their classwork. So that's what STEM Americorps is about, and I was so pleased that President Obama at the recent White House Science Fair announced the concept of STEM Americorps this past April, so look for good things to come from that. Other partnerships we're looking at, working with our veterans, helping our soldiers transition back into normalcy when they return from overseas, conserving our parks and lands. There's so many issues that we're interested in blending these needs and our assets with. But we really need you to tell us what you believe in your local communities are important to you. These are some things we're working on with you, in concert with you, but we need that creativity to be working very closely with you. You know the communities best. You know the strengths and assets that you have. You know the challenges that you're dealing with much better than we do. So I challenge you to think with us, be creative with us, and let's join our assets with the needs in the communities. A great example of this is a program I visited a couple weeks ago in Newton, Massachusetts. This is an RSVP program. It's called SOAR 55, Service Opportunities After Retiring at 55. Love the name. But a few years ago, SOAR 55, this RSVP program, kind of did a little bit of inward looking. And they said to themselves, what are our needs in the community, and how can we tap these wonderful RSVP volunteers who are bringing to us some pro bono skills-based assistance, aid, and consulting, and they're ready to provide service at a unique level. They were retiring from professions across the country, retiring to Newton, Massachusetts, and they needed to match this with a problem they had. The problem was many of their nonprofits were struggling with their capacity to serve and provide service and meet their mission and goals. So what did they need? Some professional consulting. So what the RSVP program did is match the RSVP consulting services of these wonderful skills-based members and volunteers, put together a nonprofit management consulting program, completed with rigorous training for volunteers, team-based projects, partnerships with local nonprofits, all done through the power of RSVP volunteers. These RSVP volunteers have completed 50 nonprofit consulting projects and lifted 50 organizations up and made them stronger. And they didn't stop with the plan. They backfilled it with more RSVP volunteers to help implement the program. So that is what I call creative thinking, and it came from the ground up. That's what I'm talking about when I ask you to think about blending your assets with needs in the community. I love that one. Another request I have of you is to think about going to your local elected officials and asking them, particularly mayors. I love working with mayors. Asking the mayors and elected officials, what do they see are the important needs in your towns and cities? Ask them how you can take your assets, your resources, your Americorps programs, your Senior Corps programs, your volunteers, your faith and community leaders. How can you blend it with the mayor? And I'll give you an example. I was just 2 weeks ago, I was in Manchester, New Hampshire. And we were at the Chamber of Commerce. We had gathered together some businesses, faith leaders, national service leaders, to talk about a dialogue around the economy. And the Mayor Gatsas was with us. And he stayed with us the entire time. And at the end of our session, I turned to the mayor and I said, Mr. Mayor, you've heard wonderful testimony here of what national service and volunteerism is doing in your community. And you hear support from the business sector as well. What problem has faced you recently that we can take the wonderful human capital resource and engage in? He didn't even pause. He said, Wendy, I've got something I need. We have just invested in a learning lab for our high school students. We've put a lot behind this, a lot of resources behind it, a lot of planning went in it, but we have something missing. We don't have any volunteers to help teach the young students how to use the learning lab. This is a big gap. We've got a wasted resource until we have that support. I need volunteers. So we said, we're on it. And a VISTA member is probably rolling in this afternoon to go and help and recruit volunteers and make sure that need is met, to make sure that these young students become successful in their learning lab and they graduate successfully from high school and go on to college if that's their choice. That is creativity, and that's from a direct ask of the mayor. So think about going to your leaders and taking the benefits of what you have to offer and asking them, how can you help? And then earlier I mentioned your input, and this is very important to me and all of us at the Corporation for National and Community Service. We need to hear from you. So we've prepared tomorrow for a fireside chat that's going to look a little bit different. The first half of the fireside chat is going to be pretty exciting. We have 3 first ladies from Maine, Nebraska, and Rhode Island. In fact, I'm happy to say Sally Gannum from Nebraska is with us here today and spending the day with us. Welcome, Ms. Gannum. And Ms. Chafee and Ann LePage are joining us this evening. They'll be at the reception. Find me tonight, and I'll introduce you to them. But they're going to talk from the heart tomorrow about their connection to national service and volunteerism. We're going to hear from the First Ladies. Then the second portion of our day, our morning, is going to be in breakout sessions by table topics with Corporation for National and Community Service staff staffing them. And that is your time to tell us how we can help you do your jobs and your service better. So I want you to take from now until tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock and start thinking about what you want to share with us. This is our opportunity to fuel our souls on what your best ideas, your solutions, your input is, and we really want it. And I don't want it to stop tomorrow. I want to encourage you. We have state office directors and teams covering every state in the country. I want to encourage you to communicate as frequently as you can with our state team members throughout the country. They're there for you, to support you, and they want to hear from you. So continue that great communication you've done, and I encourage you to step it up and continue to communicate with them. And then as I close and we go into a fabulous panel, I want you to think about John Bridgeland this morning asked us to be bold in our thinking and our actions. And I want us to be bold. We have heard from this morning we heard from three senators who have said, tell your story. Come to us and share the successes that you have. Senator Coons, Senator Kane from Virginia, and Senator Coates from Indiana, all have given us this advice today. Wouldn't it be great if we shared our story with every member of Congress, with every governor, with every mayor, with every Chamber of Commerce leader, with every United Way leader? Get the stories out, and let's do that in 213. That's a bold idea and a bold statement, and I hope you'll join me in doing so as you tell the stories, because as I travel, I hear amazing stories. Many of your stories make me cry and many make me laugh, but they are compelling, and I want everyone to know about it. So leaders are in a position to support us and join us. So thank you so much for being here today. This is a bold time for all of us. There's a lot of great work going on. You're in the center of it, and I'm here to help you. God bless each one of you. Thank you so much.
Please welcome Senior Vice President, Social Innovation at the Case Foundation and the incoming Director of the Social Innovation Fund at CNCS, Michael Smith.
I'm not dancing. Good morning. How's everybody doing? So are there any City Year members in the house today? Any City Year members? So if I asked a City Year member, how are you feeling? What would you say? So let's try that. How is everybody feeling? One more time. How's everybody feeling? All right, I am excited. I am all in for service. I am all in for the Social Innovation Fund. And one of the reasons I'm excited, in addition to all of you being here today, is because in times of great national need, we have to be all in, and we have to have all oars in the water. And national service is not a nice thing, it's a critical thing. The stories that Wendy just told are not just people getting together and having a good time, it's people getting together, owning the challenges and opportunities in their communities and making a real difference. And that's why I'm excited to be here today and excited to join the team. You know, there are a couple other reasons for me that I think this is such an exciting time. I am someone that was served by all of you. I was born and raised in Western Massachusetts in a small city in a rough neighborhood. And from a very early age, my single mom dropped me off at a Boys and Girls Club. And that's where it was thanks to foster grandparents and Americorps Vista members and so many other volunteers who took time out of their lives to provide support and a pathway for me that allowed me to live the life that I've been able to live today and allowed me to eventually choose a career where I could give back to the communities and the people that have given so much to me. 2 weeks, I get to join the Social Innovation Fund. I consider that to be one of the greatest privileges of my life. And why is that? I have the opportunity now to get your back. I have the opportunity to join a team like Wendy, who is dancing on this stage, who is excited and passionate every day about this work, Bill Basil, others. I've talked to our Social Innovation Fund team, and they are excited about lifting you up, about supporting you, about championing you. And so I just can't wait until July 8th. Actually, it's before July 8th that I'm here, but I can't wait till July 8th to really get into that role. So what our panel today is going to talk about is we're going to talk a little bit about innovation. We're going to talk about the change makers that are really making a difference. You know, it's a really exciting time to be in the national service space, and that's because innovation and creativity are front and center. You know, at the Case Foundation, we have this campaign that we're running called Be Fearless. And it's really trying to push a fearless approach to creating social change. Realizing that when old models are no longer working, it's time to be fearless, to be bold, to take risks, to fail forward, and to try new solutions. And so what we have for you today are 3 people that are fearless change makers in their communities who are going to tell you about some great innovations that are taking place that can inspire all of your work. So social innovation, really interesting topic. People are like, what does that mean, social innovation? There are lots of different definitions. For us at the Case Foundation, it's very simple. There are two things that social innovation mean to us. Wendy said the first one. First, it means that we believe the power to create solutions lies in the hands of the communities that are dealing with the problems. So it's getting the backs of the citizens and bringing them to the table to make a difference. And the second thing, it's even easier. It's about new solutions to old problems. And so we're excited today to bring together three incredible panelists who are going to tell you about new solutions to old problems, who are going to tell you about citizens coming to the center and leading, and about some great approaches that are changing the way service looks on the ground and how service is really transforming America. So allow me to introduce our three panelists. First, we have Stan Penfold, who is a city councilman from Salt Lake City. Stan is also the executive director of the Utah AIDS Foundation, so he is serving. Next, we have Katie Wolfgang, who is the chief service officer from Philadelphia. And last, we have Carrie Sullivan, who is president of the Bank of America Charitable Foundation. Carrie. And Carrie's doing double, triple, quadruple duty. She was just doing another fantastic panel this morning on transforming leadership. Please be seated. Join me in welcoming our panelists again. So let's start with Stan and Katie. Stan and Katie, you both bring a local perspective about what it means to really focus your service and volunteering assets. Stan, let's start by talking to you. What does service mean in Salt Lake City? And more specifically, what does it mean for the ability of innovative organizations to grow and increase their impact?
Actually, Salt Lake City, you may know, is always rated right up there at the top for volunteer involvement. In fact, it was really tempting for me to not bring a big foam number one finger in here and wave it around. One of the things that I'm very aware of in Salt Lake is that volunteerism is grounded in sort of the basic culture of the community. It started as a religious movement to help people in hardship, but has actually translated into this amazing expectation in many ways of people to be involved in their community as volunteers. The funny thing to me is that coming from the nonprofit arena, the Utah AIDS Foundation, where the whole organization was founded on a group of volunteers, like many organizations that felt like there was a problem that was not being addressed. The Salt Lake City Corporation has not really embraced its volunteer programming. It just sort of happens. And we didn't actually hire a volunteer coordinator until about a year ago who has been overwhelmed. And one of the connections that I realized is critical in that process is sometimes we assume that everybody's doing it and everybody knows how to support volunteer work, and that's an assumption we shouldn't be making. One of the responsibilities I think we all have to our leaders, our community leaders, the people who support us in elected positions is to ask for that support at a level that embraces volunteer work and encourages people to be engaged on their own and to be engaged with their community.
Fantastic. You know, since you brought up the point, Stan, you have to share, just because we're in the family, what would you say is the secret sauce in terms of Utah staying number one? And what's some advice that you would give to states that may be trying to increase and compete with you?
Compete. I think it's good. I'd like people to compete with our volunteer programming. You know, I think it really comes down to a partnership that started for us as a state many years ago when the state was organized in a religious culture, and is very common to religious cultures, but expanded, I think, into the private sector and the nonprofit sector and the government political sector. And I think it's that partnership, those four entities, if you will, really working together and leveraging the resources from each of those the unique resources from each of those areas that makes partnerships and volunteer activities so successful in Utah.
Fantastic, thank you. Katie, let's go to you.
As one of the nation's first chief service officers, I'm part of a really dynamic crew. Many folks are here with me in DC from Atlanta and Austin, Baltimore, Baton Rouge, Pittsburgh, Little Rock, Orlando and Nashville, and of course, New York, the first city of service. All of us and many, many more are working through the Cities of Service Coalition to really bring impact volunteering as a critical strategy to mayors and to mayoral administrations. And so while I can't wait to tell you what's happening in Philadelphia, I really want to underscore that it's happening in many, many places, many more every year. And so I think that Cities of Service working together with the Corporation for National Community Service provides the ideal infrastructure to continue to move this service momentum that we all keep talking about. So everybody heard yesterday Neil Bush referring to Philadelphia as the place where the first all-volunteer fire department got its legs, and I always think that that's the perfect example of impact volunteering. We didn't ask neighbors to come out with buckets of water and to solve the problem. We said, we know citizens can do this, but we need a plan and a strategy and a way of organizing them and measuring their outcome, and once we had that, then we mobilized volunteers and made that happen back in 1776. And so when you look forward at what's happening in Philadelphia now under the great Mayor Nutter, it's exciting to see how that spirit has really continued. And so Mayor Nutter, if you hear him in Philadelphia or anywhere else, really talks about how proud he is to be mayor of his hometown. And I think that's really because of that spirit of service. And so when he was elected in 2008, one of the very first things he decided to tackle was an issue that came up constantly through the primaries and the general election, and that was just that the city was becoming really dirty. And so he knew that he couldn't solve that with policy or with money. He could only do it through volunteers. And so again, he didn't go knocking on individual doors or getting, simply on the radio or out in front of the podium. He went to a network, an organized structure in the city, our 6,000 strong block captain network, grassroots community leaders who know which sidewalks needs to be cleaned, knows which lots and alleyways need to be cleared out. He asked them to mobilize their neighbors. The city provided the supplies, but they did all the organizing and recruiting and got that work done. So now, 6 years later, we've had 6 years in a row of the Philly Spring Cleanup. There's a Keep Up the Sweep Up effort that's going on all year long. We've had 300,000 volunteers clear 6 million pounds of trash and over 1 million pounds of recycling. And that happened not because we thought, oh, it's good for one person or another person, but we have a systematic approach to that. And so Cities of Service allowed us to build on that. I think the mayor was really excited to be our Cities of Service Leadership Grant winner because we could use that resource to figure out how do we take that approach and bring it across city government. And so in 2010, when I was lucky enough to come on, we immediately opened the Mayor's Office of Civic Engagement and Volunteer Service. We knew it's not about a person, but about a team. And the most important thing we did when we did that, open that office, was to meet immediately with the state office located in Philadelphia of the Corporation for National Community Service. It's where I got to meet Mary Strasser, who now leads Americorps Vista nationally, but at the time was in Pennsylvania, and she said, you have a really big job and you're going to need some help. And I think that the Vistas are the help that you need. And so in that year, we started with 2 Vistas who helped us set up the office, get our website launched, and start to build relationships and partnerships across city government. So this year, we're preparing now to have 25 Vistas through the state office and other partnerships, including with Points of Light and Bank of America, 25 Vistas who are embedded in city government in departments very, very diverse, Parks and Rec, Managing Director's Office, Office of Policy, all working with full-time staff, helping them build their capacity and build their infrastructure and strategies to engage volunteers and mobilize citizens in ways that align with their goals, so that so service is not off on the side as something special, but it's integrated into all the work that we do. And I think that is really at the heart of what's going to move this forward. And the last thing I'll say about this is that one of the things that's been exciting watching the Vistas is that they know national service. They understand how important it is. So they help us build further connections with the city, with terrific nonprofit running an RSVP program to help us with senior hunger issues. We had a Vista working in the managing director's office on an innovative crime fighting strategy, and she said, they need more than me, they need an NCCC team. And so she found the local campus, she brought the staff in, applied, managed that team when they came, figured out the protocols so that another person could manage a future team. It's very exciting to see how these things build upon each other. This fall, we're very excited through the Mayor and Governor Initiative Award to start a new Americorps program rooted right in the city, engaging 100 Americorps members in 6 months terms of service on projects designed to align with the mayor's sustainability initiatives, and we're specifically recruiting young people who are between their GED and their next stage in life, and so we see it both as an opportunity to strengthen the city and to strengthen their own workforce goals and aspirations. So I think it's really about building on all these things and institutionalizing it at the city level that's going to move us forward. And the last thing I'll say about this is I feel like everyone else here very inspired by this notion of bringing people together across the political lines. But in Philadelphia, it's a predominantly Democratic city, and we still have all the problems that we face in this country. So even if everybody's checking off the same political box, it doesn't mean those problems go away. It really means people individually have to roll up their sleeves and see themselves as in it together. And I think that the experience of service and volunteering combined with a clear infrastructure of how to make that happen is what's going to do that. So.
Wow.
I know.
Utah better watch out. Pennsylvania's on your hills. You know, it's,
looking over my
We're
shoulder.
quietly competitive over in the city of Philadelphia.
I always thought Chief Service Officer was one of the coolest titles that anyone could ever dream up, but I think I would also add Chief Service Evangelist. Not only for Philadelphia, but for all of us that are in this room. What a great ambassador you are, and incredible work. Absolutely.
It's a big team effort.
I want to ask a quick follow-up question, but before I do, I'm curious to get a response from all of you. We're talking about innovation, we're talking about new approaches. How many of you feel you work within entities, government organizations that allow you to be, want you to be innovative? We're with family, you can be honest. Okay, that's pretty fantastic. So as I've been going across the country talking about this Be Fearless concept, one of the things I hear over and over again is our organization does not have a fearless culture. We're not allowed to be innovative. We can't be innovative because we're dealing with taxpayer dollars and you know, we have to be very safe. So you work for Philadelphia. You threw 1776 into your remarks. So there's, you know, not an older institution around. And so how do you really bring innovation into a risk-averse culture or a big culture?
Sure. So I feel sort of excited that my answer to that question now is not so different than it would have been when I joined. I'm an alumni of the Jesuit Volunteer Corps, and so that's how I came to Philadelphia in 1996. And I sort of had this, you know, a very naive can-do attitude about there's no reason why we can't fix this problem if I'm willing to do it or somebody else is willing to do it or if I can make friends with this person or partner. And it was a little bit amazing to me that could happen. And now, all these years later, I feel like it's a lot of the same philosophy. And I think national service members understand this better than anybody else. And when we first started, people didn't know in city government what a Vista was or Americorps. I was like downstairs in this little room and people were, you know, whatever. My first Vista is now, right. So people, they could quietly do work and people weren't paying attention. They weren't trying to stop them because they didn't know that they were moving. So my first Vista is now the mayor's special assistant. We have a Vista now that's about to be, when she rolls off her year of service, hired as an assistant managing director in a restructuring of a program that she helped to work on when she was a Vista. I think that service is a little bit of a quiet backdoor into creating change, and we have plenty of places in Philadelphia that are not like freshly open to new ideas, but you just start small, and when you get turned around you go somewhere else and you come back. And I think there's tons of people who really want to do exciting work, not just in Philadelphia, all around the country, and there's just no reason why it can't get done. I think that's the answer, and national service members, they know that more than anybody else.
Quiet infiltration. Thank you for that, Katie. Appreciate it. Let's go on to Carrie. So Carrie, for you, Bank of America kind of prides itself in not about being about charity. You know, you're not in the business of charitable gifts. Rather, you're about community investments through your philanthropy. So question for you is, one, tell us the difference. What's the difference between making an investment in the community and doing charity? And then the follow-up to that is, Why is service an attractive investment?
Well, so I think the whole notion of charity is sort of out the window. I mean, we look at it as a community investment because we bring our dollars to a problem and trying to, be part of the solution, and we bring and leverage our employees. And I would say service in that is becoming an equal part of the equation. It used to be the money and you bring a few volunteers, and I think that has changed dramatically. And I'd say for a number of reasons. One is we have an army of educated, skilled individuals who want to give back. So our employees want to be engaged. And I would say 270,000 employees around the globe, we know collectively we can make an impact, but we can't do it alone. And we rely on the expertise of the nonprofits in the community that have their pulse really on that issue and know the best way to solve that issue. We can bring certain expertise to the equation, but clearly they are the drivers of how we go about making that change with them. So it's definitely a partnership, and I think that's something that is sort of the hallmark of how we approach our CSR. We're local, we're in small and large communities across the country. In the US, it's largely a mass consumer bank segment, so we're everywhere, and we want to really connect locally because that's how that's where solutions are found. So that's one thing. And I would say the other piece is, the economic downturn taught us a lot, and we probably know better than most companies. We had a tough time, no doubt. But I think what we learned in all of that was there are so many problems in communities across the country that government funding and traditional philanthropy cannot solve them. And, what better way for us to help is to really rally and support our volunteers. And we certainly support our volunteers, and we've done a lot of work aligning programs that our employees want to engage in to our philanthropic partners. So within that whole context of the economic downturn, we kind of refocused our foundation on what we thought were three critical issues that really were most prevalent in low and moderate income communities, and that was about putting people back to work, so workforce development, housing, really looking at community development as a strategy. And the third was really around critical needs, and we did a lot really with food insecurity. So we kind of went back to basics. We brought our employees and expertise to it, and we're really excited about a new partnership that we're working with Points of Light and really to leverage our expertise as a financial institution for the Financial Opportunity Corps. And we're piloting it in 10 cities. Philadelphia is one of them, and we're really looking forward to taking, what we know, but really leveraging that expertise with community volunteers as well as employee volunteers to deliver out that financial education piece, which is integrated across all of the problems in the country. We really need to get a handle on that. So we're excited to be working, and hopefully it's a pilot that we can expand, but something that we're really looking forward to.
Incredible work. So a follow-up question for you, Carrie. If innovation is the big topic of the day, I think right along it is the idea of evidence and impact. Everyone wants to know how you have evidence-based approaches and how you know if you've succeeded. Can you tell us a little bit about how Bank of America thinks about impact and return on investment?
Yeah, our return on investment really is the health of the community we're serving. We look at that as the barometer. So if we're investing in Los Angeles with a workforce development program, we'll look to see if more people are put to work, and we may be measuring something different in Boston. So we rely on the metrics of the nonprofit and whether the economic base of the community is growing. And all of this, by the way, is good for the community, it's good for individuals, but it's also good for our business. So there's sort of a strategic connection to who we are as a company as well.
Fantastic. What incredible, awesome examples of innovation that's taking place on all different levels, both from the private sector, inside of government, the great new chief service officers that we have around the country. And, I think all around this room we could have 50 more people on this panel that are quietly making a difference. And I want to thank you guys so much for telling your stories, and I want to thank all of you for doing the work.
Thanks so much.
So before we leave, we have a treat. There is a reason that all of us do the work that we do, and it's about people like this next young man that you're going to meet, Chris Guzman. Chris is an Americorps member serving with American Youth Workers and the Texas Conservation Corps. He also has a story about how Senior Corps foster grandparents helped to get him on track. This is a story that is inspiring and I think is what fuels all of our work all around the room. Chris, please come up.
You and I go hard at each other like we're going to war. You and I go rough, we keep flowing.
Hello everybody, how are y'all doing? That's good. It's upside down. As you can imagine, I'm a little nervous. This is my first time talking in front of this many people. Alright, well, first, I would like to thank Wendy Spencer, the Corporation for National and Community Service, my teachers at American Youth Works, as well as my mentors at Texas Conservation Corps, for providing the opportunity for me to speak with you all today. I would like to share my experience with service and how serving others with Texas Conservation Corps helped me to provide guidance and direction to my own life. I was born and raised in South Austin by my loving mother and grandmother. Both taught me to be prepared and to be adaptable and to be patient. My mother worked extremely hard to support me and my family. With no father to help support us, I often felt it was my responsibility to take care of myself and my family. Despite the love and support my mom and my grandma provided me, I often yearned for a male role model. Growing up without a father or brothers, I never learned to tie a tie. I struggled with self-discipline, and I longed for male companionship to teach me how to become a strong and productive leader. By the time I finished middle school, my rebellion escalated to cutting class, experimenting with drugs, dealing, and fighting. I surrounded myself with negative influences, and I was attracted to the male camaraderie I found on the streets. By the time I was promoted to high school, I was so engrossed in the street culture that I didn't even finish my first semester of high school. Although I was not initially successful in high school, my street brothers and I formed a bond much like the family I desired at home. As time passed, I lost most of my friends to the violence of the streets. Due to my poor decisions and reckless behavior, I eventually found myself in juvenile detention. I became so used to the detention center walls that the guards used to nickname me the veteran. While I was in the detention center, I had an opportunity to meet some wonderful volunteers from Senior Corps. My foster grandparents, Grandma Chavez and Grandma Piper. The foster grandparents in my detention centers offered love, support, and consistent finger wag. They told me it was never too late to turn my life around. As I contemplated my next step, I knew there was no such thing as small change. I knew there was some challenges ahead of me. As I contemplated my next step, However, at my hardest time in my life, the foster grandmothers helped me to remember that there are people who care about me, and I cannot thank them enough for their time and persistence. My next goal was to enroll in school again. During this time, my mother heard about American Youth Works. The motto for American Youth Works is to transform the lives of at-risk youth, which I certainly was, through education, service, and green jobs training. This charter school appealed to me because I was able to work to support my family while gaining valuable skills and finishing my high school diploma. After submitting my application and an interview, I was enrolled in American Youth Works. As a part of the curriculum, each student is allowed to choose a course similar to a career concentration. I was assigned to the Texas Conservation Corps, an Americorps program. In Texas Conservation Corps, I was exposed to new opportunities, a different hands-on style of learning, and certifications to boost my resume. What started as a way to make money turned out to be an experience I will never forget. With TXCC, I would often work long days in the summer heat removing invasive species, felling burned trees, and constructing trails. In TXCC, the attributes I previously directed toward the streets, leadership, independence, organization, loyalty, found an outlet, and many of my mentors helped me to develop these skills and direct them toward positive change. TXCC not only allowed me to form positive bonds with my peers, I was also exposed to career opportunities in environmental conservation, which helped me to find a direction for my future. I remember one guest speaker in particular. As a part of our curriculum, a wildland firefighter shared with us his experiences fighting fires and saving people's lives and homes. I was so intrigued by his presentation that I went home and immediately began researching this field, like as quick as possible. I was like, that's what I want to do. I decided right then and there I would become a member of a hotshot crew. The hotshot crew attracted my attention because of the members' leadership, hard work, handwork, and discipline. When I speak to some of my friends, some of them think I'm crazy for choosing this career path, but all I want to do is fight raging fires, rappel from helicopters, dive from airplanes, operate large chainsaws, all while hiking rugged terrain and carrying heavy gear. I just would... I just would love to feel the adrenaline rush of working 16 hours for 14 days on at a time. That just, I know that sounds crazy, but that's for me. Thanks to all my mentors and my core support system, I graduated this past Saturday from American Youth Works, earning a high school diploma. Gotta start tearing up. Here's my next step. I've joined TXCC's Trails Across Texas crew to continue to build my trail construction and maintenance skills before transitioning to a hotshot firefighting crew. When I think back on my earlier years, I realized that I possessed qualities of leadership, but my experiences with Senior Corps, Americorps, Texas Conservation Corps, and American Youth Works helped me to develop and use the attributes to positively affect my community and to one day save lives. Thank you.
This is what we do. This is why we work the way we work, why we put in the hours that we put in, why we deal with the stress that we deal with, because of Chris. And now he's going to meet his wife, and he's going to become a U.S. Senator, and he's going to bring a lot of money back to the table. Chris, thank you so much. Thank you. Please welcome our CEO back to the stage, Wendy Spencer.
Michael, Chris, this is awesome. I'm going to leave you all with a tool. We're going to do rapid speed slide presentation, because this tool that I'm going to leave you with, and you're going to meet our team members on the way out, and they'll hand it to you, is going to develop more Chris Guzmans. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
So this is great. I know I'm going to tear up too. All right, this is our mission. 4 missions. It's called EDGE, our leading edge, EDGE. See yourselves in these priorities. Expanding economic opportunities, strengthening individuals and families, service as a pathway to education and employment. The D, drive innovation and impact, innovate, invest in results, maximize return on investment. The G, grow national service and volunteerism, expand investments and partnerships, call on Americans to serve. And E, explain why service matters, document and share the impact, engage champions. That's your leading edge, our leading edge, to more Chris Guzmans. Congratulations, everybody, on all the work you're doing. Thank you. Have a great conference. We'll have the edge for you as you walk out. God bless each one of you.